Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been 3 years since we had a big community meeting like this about the high-speed train, and this is going to be really helpful for everybody here. There are going to be times when you laugh, times when you cry, and there are going to be times where I ask you to put your thinking caps on because we're going to present some technical information as well. This is your reality TV show for the night. This is your fake news for the night. When you go home, you're going to be wanting to just go to sleep and relax because we're going to fill your evening with some really, really important information and some tremendous experiences and videos. So really glad you're here. I wanted to introduce Pastor Tay from All Nations Church, who will give you the official welcome and our prayer.
On behalf of All Nations Church, I want to welcome all of you. That you're inside, not outside. It's pretty cold outside. But I'm really glad that God spared our church building when that creek fire happened. You know, yeah. So, and we're going to continue as long as God gives us community here. We will continue to serve the community. We're going to continue to love and do our best to help. So let me pray, and then we'll keep going. Heavenly Father, we are so grateful that you are a good God, you're awesome God, you're loving God. And as you have created us and placed us in various locations to pursue you, and I pray that tonight will be a night where we think about not just this life, but life to come. And thank you for the leaders, and thank you for the politicians of this city, of this place. And we ask for your wisdom upon them, that they will make wise decisions. And as we continue on with this meeting, you'll help us to search deep, that this will not just to be about me, about myself, but for the whole community and for many people, that we love each other, we live together. So thank you for tonight, and in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Next, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Will everybody please stand? Please place your right hand on your heart, and I'll get you started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First thing I want to just ask is, who's all here? And I'd just appreciate if you just give a shout when I say the name of your community. Cagle Canyon. I guess we shouldn't tell the burglars that you're all here tonight. Lakeview Terrace. Sunland Tahunga. Latuna Canyon. Shadow Hills. Sun Valley. It sounds like some of you own property in multiple communities. Pacoima. Is Jose here? Sylmar. Is Sylmar here? Okay. Great. If you're a community leader, let's hear from you. Okay. If you're an elected official, give us a shout out. You got to loosen up. And then last, I wanted to just ask everybody to recognize the S.A.F.E Coalition, the folks who put the meeting together. A lot of them are wearing yellow, but we're kind of seated all over the place. But if the S.A.F E Coalition folks would just stand up. Great. I can tell you've already figured out about the materials on your seats. You can take them home. You can sign them. It'd be best if you sign them and leave them here. We have a drop-off here. We'll have a drop-off by the door. We will have comment cards, the index cards. If you have a question, even a comment, please write it out, hold it up. One of our coalition folks will come pick it up, and we're going to do that at the end. So it's our intent to get through the program and then go through the questions and comment cards at the end. Tonight's meeting is a blending of new and a blending of old. How many of you were not here 3 years ago? It looks like maybe a third or a fourth were not here. So we had a big debate about whether to re-show the video from last time, and we decided to do it, and I think it was a good decision based on the number of people who were not here last time. So we'll get into that in a second. Our meeting agenda is to give you, as I mentioned earlier, factual information. We're going to show you some videos and things, but we're going to kick this off with a little bit of a look back at what we've been through the last couple of months. With the fires that were here, this meeting was originally going to be in January, but we held off so that people could kind of get their lives back together again, but then come back and deal with this issue, which is an important long-term issue. We have 3 speakers tonight from 3 communities that were heavily impacted from the fire. We have Dale Gibson from Shadow Hills, who will speak first, then Diane Valencia from Sylmar, and then Kelly Decker from Cagle Canyon. And the theme of this part of our show is called We're Staying and We're Fighting. Dale? What? Introduce who? Go, you introduce me.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Dave DiPento. Okay, now I'm going to introduce myself. My name is, Dale Gibson, thank you. This is going to be a light, whimsical me because it's been a real busy last couple of months. I've been asked to speak here today first, and I feel like, speaking first, I wanted to leave you with a thought, so bear with me here. December 5th, like a lot of you, I woke up to smoke and fire on the western horizon. I hooked up my trailer, went to Cagle Canyon, go ahead. Yeah. And Monteverde and started evacuating horses. Soon my friends from the ranch joined in and we were moving horses from wherever they were to our ranch. And as most of you know, a couple hours later, the winds changed. Then we fought to save our neighbor's house and our barns, and we did good, we won. Then the winds changed more, and thanks to a lot of great folks, and I'm gonna try not to do anything silly here. Thanks to a lot of great folks, boarders, friends, and all of you out there, all the horses from my place were evacuated next door and they were safe. But our barns burned down to nothing. I'm not as young as I used to be 17 years ago. You know, sometimes you just feel like it's always something. You feel like you want to go sit down, you want to go ride your horse. But after being depressed, and then a really crazy thing happened. You folks started coming over to my house, going, I hope you rebuild. You're going to rebuild, right? You're going to go to Vegas and go rope. We like coming over here and watching you. We like to ride for cures. So we decided to rebuild. And you folks, our neighbors, our friend, you started donating. You had I'm going to say it. You guys had a fundraiser at my house. You raised $30,000 for us one night. Now, I'm not an emotional guy, but you guys are amazing. And I can't even tell you how much we appreciate it. So, my thought is that I want to leave you with here is, folks, we live in America. And because we live here, we have to fight and we have to stand up for what we want. And sometimes we need to stand up and fight for what we don't want. Now, I'm sure, like me, you're sick and tired of having your homes and your way of life threatened. But we keep on fighting because we live here. Because your homes, my ranch, and our whole area will be okay after the fire. In my case, I want you guys to come by and see the ranch. It's actually a little bit better. But it if we have a high-speed rail in our area, it's not going to be better. We're not going to recover. Our homes will be not better, but worse. And I just want to leave you with that thought. So let's keep fighting the good fight. Don't get tired like I did. Stick it out. And if you feel like you get tired and don't want to fight, just look around at you guys, because you guys did it for me. And I want to say thank you very, very much.
Diane Valencia from Silmar would like to share a bit about her experience, and then Nancy Woodruff from Latuna Canyon.
Hi, folks. First of all, I'd like to really thank the members of the S.A.F.E Coalition and everybody that was involved in putting this meeting together, and I'm really glad to see such a great turnout tonight. I'm proud to have given an opportunity to be part of this event, and you know, we have a unique opportunity to work together and to make our individual voices stronger by being united. I'm a pretty active member of the Silmar community. I wear a few different hats. Currently sit on the Silmar Neighborhood Council as, among other things, I'm the public safety chair. I'm also president of a Silmar environmental and advocacy group, community advocacy group. But tonight I'm just here as a resident who cares deeply about my own community, but also the surrounding communities. The sense of the larger community is right here in this room. We certainly have been overwhelmed in the past couple of months with recovery efforts as a result of the Creek Fire. Silmar was also hit hard, but we are a resilient community, and we certainly have a long history of dealing with emergencies and large-scale disasters. We suffered a considerable loss with approximately 30 homes that were either damaged or destroyed. And the homes actually lost are in walking distance of my own home, so I sort of have to face that devastation on a daily basis. Though the recovery process will continue for some time, it's important that we not lose sight of the multitude of other issues that are affecting our communities. High-speed rail continues to threaten our neighborhoods and our quality of life. Perhaps you're here tonight to learn more about the project. Maybe it's your first meeting. Maybe you're wanting to learn how you can be part of this effort and join in the fight to save our communities. Please spend the time to educate yourself, be informed, stay informed. And the theme of this meeting is unity. So I encourage you to join in this fight and unite with those who are leading the charge to advocate on behalf of all of our communities. I also challenge every one of you here to consider what part you might play in this fight, no matter how small your contributions might be. I know we're all busy with work and home life and children and jobs, and it's hard to get to meetings, but even small contributions will matter. And consider, too, what you can personally commit to doing before you leave this meeting tonight, before you step back into your car and drive back to your home. And maybe that's something as simple as just spreading the word to your neighbors and friends. No contribution is too small. I feel a personal sense of obligation to play a part in the shaping of the future of my own community, and I hope that feeling is shared by some or all of you here tonight. And just some thoughts to leave you with. And these are things that I live by in various scenarios. Don't be afraid to challenge decisions. Don't be afraid to step up and fight for what you strongly believe. Don't give up. Together, united and empowered, we can and we will fight this. Thank you.
I want to thank Diane. Like a day or two after the fire, she drove us around and showed us a couple of communities, and it was just amazing how one house would be hit, and then half a block away, another house would be hit. But the devastation in Sylmar was really, really bad, and I just thought it would be important for those of you not from Sylmar to see that, and those of you from Sylmar to see what's happened in other parts of our community. Nancy from Latuna Canyon, and Nancy's also one of our best-serving experts on neighborhood councils with land use issues throughout the area.
This doesn't have quite as many people as we had 3 years ago when I first spoke with this group, but I gotta tell you, it has been just something that so many people have gotten involved with and written letters to and tried to work with all of our government representatives to back our community, that I have to give, Dave's probably put in thousands and thousands of hours along with the people with S.A.F.E, and they've done a terrific job. I want to talk really quickly about Latuna Canyon. The fire, of course, started early in the afternoon. It went on for a couple of days. I'm sure all of you guys saw it on TV, etc. I have to give the fire departments, county, state, and city just kudos, because no structures were lost. Nobody was really hurt with this. The only problem we had, which is something that takes place in equestrian communities, is getting livestock out and in a safe area. This is an ongoing thing that I've experienced since, well, 1980, the first fire that I went through in Latuna. And I've got to tell you, we are working very hard for the neighborhood councils and other groups to try to maintain some kind of communication with our emergency centers so that there will be really easy going next time, Dave and everybody else. It's going to be okay. There is just community involvement with this is going to be really great. And we're working really hard to get all the government agencies involved with the folks like you that show up with the trailers and help everybody. At any rate, the flood came. There was, as you probably well know, Latuna Canyon was blocked off again for a number of days, and I've got to tell you, the folks in Latuna thought it was really kind of cool because we didn't have all the traffic going through. But at any rate, I think the county in particular did a good job trying to identify with, well, actually, they got involved with USGS, to designate areas where landfall or the floods and stuff would come. And they did identify a lot of them. And I think it's a growing situation that will be taken care of. Finally, getting back to S.A.F.E and how it all started. In July 17th, 2014, we had Cal State show up, high-speed rail, at the general board meeting in Foothill Trails, telling us that they were just about through with their studies and that they were going along with the SR14 route, and that we had basically about a month through the end of August to make any responses, you know, for or against that particular route. So we thought it was a done deal. This is what the folks had voted for here in California. There was a little meeting in Lakeview Terrace Rec on the August 14th, and it was kind of quietly announced that they were going to consider alternative routes so that they could do their EIR in a proper way. You just can't represent one route without having alternatives. At any rate, when we heard about this, FTDNC put together a letter that we put through on August 17th, opposing anything new, and we listed a number of ideas. This was followed up with S.A.F.E and everything that came along with S.A.F.E, and it's ongoing. There's no reason why we can't continue to write letters against this and try to get all of our local leaders to back us up. They don't care. We do. We make a difference when you write. Thank you very much.
Okay, Daniel. December 5th, 2017. I couldn't sleep. We were under a red flag warning and the Santa Ana winds were howling. You can turn down the lights, Daniel, it's good. At 1 a.m., I got up to check LAFD on Twitter. That's when I first learned about the Thomas Fire. I remember following the tweets and seeing in real time how unbelievably fast it was spreading. And I remember praying for those poor people in Ventura who were barely escaping their homes with their lives and not knowing, of course, at the time, that just 2 hours later, that would be us. At 3:45 a.m., the phone rang. And when the phone rings at 3 o'clock in the morning in Cagle Canyon, you know what it is. The question is simply, where is it and how bad? Susan told me that there was a fire in Gold Creek and she could already see the flames from her house. Minutes later, Mary called. The flames were on both sides of Cagle Canyon Road and she could barely drive through. How could the fire have spread so fast? Gold Creek is 2 miles from Upper Cagle as the crow flies. I called Bill and Brian, my friends, who are always my eyes and ears from their perch in Upper Cagle. Brian answered the phone. Their property was surrounded by fire, and they could not get through their driveway to evacuate. They were trapped inside a wall of flames. I called Maria, our contact at LA County Fire Department, and she told me that they already had other reports from Upper Cagle and that Bill and Brian were not our only residents who were trapped. I remember standing along Cagle Canyon Road just beneath the bulletin board in the flatlands, watching the cars as they passed through and making notes of which of our residents were out and safe, and making note of which ones had not yet come through. At that moment, the hillside behind us erupted in flames, engulfing the residents in that field. A helicopter dropped a load of water, but it was not enough. The flames raced up West Trail, eventually consuming Armin's house. The winds were blowing at 80 miles an hour. It looked like Armageddon. At that point, there were only a few fire engines in the canyon. Within minutes of starting, the fire had made a complete horseshoe and was surrounding our entire canyon. I heard later that at the height of the blaze, the fire had spread at a rate of 1 acre per second. The creek fire had spread so far, so fast that the fire crews could not possibly be everywhere that the fire was. But luckily, where the fire crews were not, our residents were. For those of you in the audience who aren't familiar with Cagle Canyon, we are the strongest community that you will ever meet. The creek fire is not the first fire in which our neighbors defied evacuation orders, risking their own lives to save our community. The residents who stayed behind worked tirelessly throughout the night, the day, and the following night, and the following day, battling not only flames and smoke and flying embers, but also physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion in order to protect their homes, their neighbors' homes, and the canyon we call home. In the end, our small neighborhood of Cagle Canyon lost 16 homes to the creek fire. But what we did not lose was our community, the heart and soul of which is a spirit that was not broken by the fire, but instead was fortified, intensified, and strengthened as it emerged from this tragedy like a beautiful phoenix rising out of the ashes. It is that dogged, indefatigable, unwavering, and enduring spirit that defines our community. It is that spirit that will carry us through the rebuilding process and that will make us stronger when we emerge on the other side. I spoke with 2 neighbors a few days after their home was destroyed by the fire, and they confided in me that prior to the fire, they were actually planning to move. Nothing against the canyon, it was simply time to start a new chapter and embark on a new adventure in life. They had spoken to a realtor and planned to put their home on the market in the spring. But the fire had made them change their minds. They decided to stay and rebuild their home. The outpouring of care and support that they received from their neighbors made them realize that this is a community in which they want to live, to stay, and to invest themselves now and for the future. I cannot think of a better testament to the strength of the heart of our Cagle Canyon community than that. Now, at this point, you might be asking yourself, what the heck does all of this have to do with high-speed rail? The connection is this. Our residents did not survive the Creek Fire and choose to invest their hearts and souls and money into rebuilding our community just to stand by and watch it be destroyed by a train. Now, believe it or not, I was never a cheerleader, so I'm going to need help from all of you in order to make this next section work. This is our chance to send a message to the California High-Speed Rail Authority. Now, if high-speed rail's proposed E1 route impacts your communities, that's going to be Sylmar, San Fernando, Pacoima, Sun Valley, and Cagle, let me hear a shout out from you. Okay? If high-speed rail's proposed E2 route impacts your community, that's going to be Lakeview Terrace, Sunland, Tahunga, Latuna Canyon, Shadow Hills, Little T, and again, Cagle Canyon. Let me hear a shout out. Now, and this is the big question, are you staying and are you fighting? One more time, I want to hear you loud and clear. Are you willing to stand together and fight to keep the high-speed rail from destroying this wonderful place that we call home? A little something from our friends up in the Central Valley, that the High-Speed Rail Authority has a habit of sending somebody to community meetings like this one just to listen in and report back to the authority on what we're up to. So, whoever is sitting here in the audience tonight, if you take back only one message from this meeting, let it be this one. You have tried to destroy us. You have tried your best to divide and conquer our communities. But you have failed. You have succeeded in one thing and one thing only, and that is to make us stronger. We are here tonight united in one voice to send you one message. We are survivors. We defeated the Creek Fire, and we will defeat high-speed rail. Thank you.
You know, I took a tour with Diane Valencia a couple of days after the fire, and she told me what she did in those morning hours, and I also went around with Kelly. And other people told me what Kelly did, and between Diane and Kelly, we have two heroes. And I'm not understating this. I mean, they were knocking on doors, screaming, honking horns, waking people up who might otherwise have perished. And we're very lucky to have them with us, and we're very lucky to have them to be able to move a little bit forward and resume and rejoin this fight. So I'm going to give a little bit of the history lesson that was promised, but there will be a moment in this history lesson where I think you'll be up on your feet one more time. We've been dealing with this now for 3 years. December 2nd, 2017 was 3 years. Y'all remember the yellow banana? That's why we asked everybody to wear yellow. In the beginning, there was just a study area from Palmdale to Burbank where they were going to consider putting some rail lines. We found out about that we saw this map maybe around August 14th. It came in the mail, and Jerry Summey, one of our SAFE Coalition volunteers, sent me an email, and I said, no way, the high-speed rail is going to follow the freeways. I was believing what a lot of people thought. So our guard was up. On December 2nd, this was the map that we received. And just to remind you all, if you're at the last meeting, we didn't get this in the mail. We didn't get this at a presentation here in our community. We went up to Santa Clarita and saw this map in Santa Clarita. Not only did high-speed rail not tell us, we know most of our elected officials had been briefed about this, and they didn't tell us either. And that's a little bit why we're a bit on edge and a bit impatient and a bit maybe tough in some of our dealings with our elected officials right now. We found out by mistake that these routes were coming through our community. So, 3 years ago, we were here, and we put together, and we showed you for the first time a video that, again, sort of, well, maybe a little different than Kelly's presentation, but it shows you the beauty, the splendor of this area. The video we're going to show you actually has the sound incorporated in it from the last meeting. So if you were booing last time, you'll hear yourself. If you were cheering, you'll hear yourself. This is slightly shortened, but again, it's to bring you back to the feeling of pride that we all had 3 years ago. Please show the video.
Some people believe this will become one of the biggest wasteful taxpayer money pits in history. But don't worry about it.
He said, don't worry about the money. hope that was worthwhile. For those of you who already saw it before, I still think it brings you back. It's still worth seeing. Could we go to the next slide? So that was in January of 2015. And from January through about April, May, we were talking with the High Speed Rail Authority about having one of their board meetings in the Northeast San Fernando Valley. Well, sometime around early May, I got a phone call from the consultant who really wanted to have it in the San Fernando Valley, telling us that they had decided to move it downtown on a work day instead of coming to a place like this where we might show up. Anyway, 400 people took buses, cars, the day off from work, and went down to that public meeting. I don't remember if it was the Ronald Reagan building, it was one of the big buildings downtown. And over 150 people testified. We may need to do that again. Hopefully we don't have to do it soon, but we're calling on the High Speed Rail Authority. Those of you who already filled out the letters, we want a meeting here this spring on their new business plan. We want to take a shot. We want them in our backyard. Okay, and then in March of 2016, almost a year later, revised maps came out. E3 was gone. That was the route closest to the golf course. SR14 had been significantly modified, and it no longer went through downtown San Fernando, no longer went through certain parts of Pacoima. Pacoima still has parts of E1 going through it, but SR14 more or less went away. Something for you, it's a little hard to see, but we're going to talk about this. This is going to be the thinking part of the meeting. Over here is what's called the legend for the map, and you know that they've used the colors red for tunneled, blue for bridges, and green for at grade or street level. On their earliest maps, the color red meant tunneled. On the maps they use now, the color red means underground. There's a lot of meaning behind that change in the wording, and that's what I'm going to explain to you here. And in particular, the folks who live down toward Sun Valley, Stonehurst, and then the Sun Valley portion along San Fernando Road into Pacoima, all the way up toward Montague Street and Osborne Street and Branford Street, you're going to learn a little lesson about what we call cut and cover trenching, cut and cover tunneling. So we have some unfinished business with the authority, call it broken promises. These are things that they promised to do that they didn't only not deliver to us as residents, but they made commitments to our elected officials. Now, I don't see our county representatives here right now or yet, but the county requested that they do some studies. And in fact, even our city council signed up for this. Studies of tunneling, studies of seismic, studies of water. They never finished the studies. They did a bogus study on horses where they concluded that horses and trains got along just fine. They have still not conducted the meeting here in the Northeast San Fernando Valley. So we are waiting for them to come to our community. All right. Okay, so, yeah, we watch a little bit of TV news. So the next portion here, I don't know if you're laughing at the fake news or the rail equals liar. Just imagine the day we were sitting there at our desk looking at some papers, looking at the word rail, and then all of a sudden it dawned on us that what it spelled backwards. It was like an epiphany type of moment, and it characterizes all of the discussions that we've had with the High Speed Rail Authority. They are the king and queen of broken promises. So we're going to give you some of the more popular myths, and we're going to debunk them at the same time. The first is they talk always about how safely they can be operated and how sophisticated they are. They've never built anything, of course. They change consultants like we change underwear. They haven't had a management team for the last year, yet they continue to plow at over $1 million a day burn rate, paid to consultants, paid for some construction work, but even to this day, there's not been a single inch of track laid in the state of California. What's important to know is through public records requests, We dug down. We waited about 6 months to get documents. We wanted everything they had about tunneling because we had some suspicions that even though they said they weren't looking at tunneling along San Fernando Road, that maybe they were. So it took us 6 months to get the documents, and then we got a document that was all about the geotechnical and hydrogeologic studies they've done in the forest. Their own study concluded geologic and hydrogeologic conditions along the tunnel alignments present significant design and construction challenges. They go into detail about the different types of challenges that are presented, but it points to how complicated it's going to be to do any of the routes that are still on the table. It points to how costly it's going to be because the mountains here and the routes here are far more complex than what's up in Central Valley, and they're already $2 billion over budget up there. I think down the road that's going to be our salvation. I think they're going to run out of money, and I think they're going to find that environmentally it's just too complicated. The problem is they won't admit it, and so they're keeping this project on our backs. Okay, but we know that they know how hard it is, and that's why we have to communicate to our elected officials and others, let's not engage in delay for the sake of delay. If the truth is known, let's be transparent about it and let's move on. Okay, I've talked a couple of times about cut and cover trenching, cut and cover tunneling. Please look at these pictures. On the maps, in many of the locations where they showed that red line, many people believed it was being done by one of those big core drilling machines. And they said, well, you know, I'll never see it, I'll never hear it, it won't be a problem. Again, public records requests, drilling down as volunteers, getting all the information we could, looking at maps, looking at all kinds of technical information. We figured out that they weren't tunneling along San Fernando Road. They were going to do what's called cut and cover. If you've driven through the San Gabriel Valley, if you've driven through even parts of downtown, cut and cover trenching is when on a given street, they bring construction equipment in, shut the roads down, dig down, they build a corridor 40, 50, 60 feet down, and then they lay track, and then they bring in the wires, and then they run the trains in that little corridor. You see the picture at the bottom, you see it's somewhat open air. Cut and cover trenching can turn out 3 different ways. It can be completely covered, it can be completely uncovered, and it can be partially covered like this. But this is what they're proposing for the E1 route through parts still to this day of Pacoima, Sun Valley, and that's why it's really important that we help our friends and our neighbors in Sun Valley. And then right on that little portion near Stonehurst, and this, I think there's another map coming up. If you can see in the coloring, there's some red and yellow dots. We have about 1.5 miles of cut and cover work on San Fernando Road, and a little less than 1 mile in Sun Valley, just below Stonehurst Elementary School. It would start within about 700 feet of Stonehurst Elementary School, this cut and cover tunneling. Okay, so it's a nightmare from a construction standpoint, time-consuming, environmentally polluting, etc. But the high-speed rail people didn't tell us it was cut and cover. They told us it was tunneled and it was underground. They let us find out for ourselves. The next fake news item is what's known as environmental justice. And I'll just give you a very brief overview of this. Over the years, many heavy infrastructure types of projects have been built in low-income, disadvantaged communities for a variety of reasons. It could be landfills, power plants, etc. Well, high-speed rail wanted to take bows and curtsies a couple of years ago when they removed the SR14 route that went through parts of Pacoima and parts of San Fernando up into Santa Clarita. And they wanted to take kudos for the fact that they were being responsive to environmental justice concerns. They said, yeah, it's really not right to put this facility on the backs of these poor, disadvantaged communities. Well, they forgot that the routes they were leaving in still went through Sun Valley, still went through Lakeview Terrace, and still went through parts of Pacoima. So they'll say what you want to hear. And it's important for us to remember they're still targeting our communities. Maybe they targeted them because they didn't think we would fight back, but they do play on the fact that many communities are not as well organized, and they don't have experience dealing with the whole government process. So that's your environmental justice lesson for today. Don't let high-speed rail tell you they're good people and they're doing the right thing. They're doing what suits their needs.